one world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's live broadcast. It is August 5th, 2012. And today I have a bunch of things that I'm going to be going over. One thing in one of the videos in particular I'm going to play for you guys, I'm going to rip it apart because they're, when I say there, I mean the government and the mainstream, lamestream media. Their newest fear porn is to be aware of terrorists who could fly paragliders with explosives into your local sports stadium, a gathering on the street, I guess just randomly fly around, maybe into a mall parking lot and try to blow up somebody. I'm not kidding. Yes, a paraglider. It's a cross between. It's got like a big canopy, kind of like a parachute, but you know the one. It's got a wider canopy, not just a round one, so it's more steerable for like the wide rectangular ones like you'd see these stunt guys, the stunt jumpers and stuff, and all these guys doing tricks and stuff. The big wide canopy is what it's got, and then it's got like a little. It looks like almost like a lawnmower with a huge fan on the back, kind of like it looks like a little bit smaller than like an airboat. But if you took the boat part of the airboat off and shrunk the fan down a little bit, and just kept the chassis itself, and then put a parachute on it, you'd be able. That's what this thing is. And they fly around, they glide, and the newest terror attack now we have to be aware of is Al Qaeda on paragliders. Although it would be the slowest terror attack ever to happen in the United States of America, and a 12-year-old could probably shoot them out of the sky before they got to their intended target. That's the latest. And then, of course, during the video, they bring up the underwear bomber and Richard Reed, the moron shoe bomber. And, there's been plots uncovered and broken up where they were going to put they made a fake pregnant stomach. So we have to, feel up every pregnant woman. And they were going to put explosives in bras and everything else. It gets insane. So I'm going to get into that and a few other things. But right off the bat, right before I came on, I saw the news today because I was up rather late this morning, so I napped during the later morning, early afternoon just to get a couple hours of rest since I was up all night. And when I woke up, I see this active shooter situation going on, and I use the term active shooter because that's what they're going to use. The mainstream, they're already using it, and that's what the term that's going to be rammed down your throat, especially if you remember the DHS public service announcement that I played the other day where they used the term active shooter multiple times. So there's an active shooter situation, which is what the police would call it, and the rest of these guys, they'd call it an active shooter situation going on right now in Wisconsin in a Sikh temple. And for those of you that don't know, Sikhs are Indians, not, Indians like what you would ignorantly call the natives that were here before we were, what we've been ignorantly taught and dumbed down to believe that that's what they're called. But no, I'm talking about the Indians from India, okay? And Sikh Indians wear the big turbans on their head. In fact, after 9/11, there was a lot of them that were attacked very wrongfully because people were pissed off about what happened, and they see a turban on someone's head and automatically they're a terrorist. I mean, that's the ignorance. That's the level of ignorance that we're dealing with, and that's why the populace is so easily controlled. That's why I myself for a point of time was, we need to kill all of them damn terrorists. But I understood the difference between a Sikh Indian and somebody from Afghanistan or somebody from Saudi Arabia or wherever. Anyway, apparently there's a shooting going on, mass shooting. Now, I'm not going to even begin to speculate whether or not this is a staged event. It could be. I mean, there's a lot of gun control things that keep getting shut down, and mass shooting events do seem to happen right around the time of legislation and voting on things like gun control and other things. But I do not want to speculate on this because it's not even done going on yet. It's not even finished unfolding. So we really don't know what the reasoning is. Apparently there's multiple shooters. There is more than one guy. So it might actually very well be a real situation. I mean, it could be BS, but right now we just don't know. As I say, you have to wait till the dust is finished settling and then go in and look at the facts of things. And right now it's still fluid. But to keep everybody apprised as to what's going on, I do want to play just a bit from the press conference. I guess they I don't think he's a police chief, but maybe he is the police chief. It was either the chief or the captain or whatever. It'll play for you. You'll hear him say it. But I'm going to play what he came out in the public statement he already gave to the press just really quick, and then we can get on to other things. Because since it's a fluid situation and it's happening, I already got asked about it. So I'll give everybody the information that I know, and then we'll move on to a few other things. So here you go. Here's what the police officer, I believe it was the chief of the local police department, had to say to the news media just a few minutes ago.
My name is Brad Wentland. I'm the police chief for the city of Greenfield. It's Wentlandt. I will be the public information officer for this incident for the foreseeable next couple of hours, probably. I have limited information to give you. I hope you understand this is an ongoing and very fluid situation. There's information I cannot give you. I will tell you this, that we would plead with the media on scene to not broadcast any photos, video of tactical units, officer movement, and particularly no aerial footage of the event as it's ongoing. That could be very dangerous to our personnel as they go about executing their duties. What I can tell you is that approximately 10:25 a.m., Oak Creek Dispatch received an unintelligible 911 call from someone who was reporting an incident. They received further information that there may be a shooting going on at the Sikh temple here in Oak Creek. An officer arrived on scene. He engaged an active shooter. That officer was shot multiple times. He has been transported to a local hospital. He is expected to survive. That officer returned fire, and that shooter was put down. That shooter is currently outside of the temple. He is down on the scene. At this time, we don't know if there are additional shooters inside the temple. Our tactical officers from multiple jurisdictions are on the scene. They are going about a methodical process of identifying the individuals both inside and outside of the temple and ensuring that the scene is safe and secure and attending to victims as they go forward. Please understand that, as I said, the situation is very fluid. Tactical operations are ongoing at this moment. So I cannot share any other information from you. I do not have a victim count. I do not have a suspect count. I can tell you that one officer was shot multiple times. He's at a local hospital and expected to survive. I can tell you that one suspect was shot and he is down on the scene. We do not know if there are other suspects present.
Now, it's very interesting that he says that, because from other news reports like CNN's reporting that it's an active hostage situation and there are 1 to 2 other shooters inside the building with the people, and that the people inside the building are saying there's other shooters inside. So that's why, like I said, I've heard multiple shooters, and now the chief of police, this is the first time I got a chance to hear exactly what he had to say when you did, and he just said, oh, there's not multiple, we don't know. So there you go. That's the situation as it's going on right now, ladies and gentlemen. We will be right back. Now, even as I watch this unfold, this shooting in Wisconsin, there are things that are already starting to pop up that say, give me a red flag. But again, I'm not going to say that this would be premature of me to be coming out screaming at the top of my lungs on a bullhorn saying, it's a staged event. I can't tell yet. I can't give you that honest opinion. But again, it is interesting that it happens right after the Senate squashes the cybersecurity bill with those gun control, the amendments in there for ammo and getting rid of guns and certain types of weapons, which pretty much everything. And that gets shot down. And now Obama's talking about doing an executive order, for gun control, saying, well, then I'll just write an executive order, banning certain types of weapons and things. And actually, tune in to Joe Joseph's show this afternoon from 7 to 9, because Joe's going to be covering that topic in depth. But it's a lot of this is it is if you looked at it, you would say, well, gee, that's kind of coincidental that it all happens at the same time. But no, I don't want to rush to judgment on it. There are a few red flags already. And one of the big red flags was, as I said going into break, I didn't hear the press conference from the police chief there. I played it for you on air, and I heard it live as you guys were listening to it. So I didn't hear before I came on air what he said. Now, it's interesting that he says, oh, I can't tell you there's multiple shooters. I can't tell you if there's multiple shooters, and this is, again, through it was a clip from ABC News. There was, probably 5 or 10 different news outlets there at least, but it's all in country. So during the break, I went to YouTube and I found a report from CNN, but it's the CNN affiliate out of the country. Probably, I think it's the European edition of CNN or whatever. And it's only 1 minute and 35 seconds long, but I want you to hear what certain things are said. I'm not even going to point it out until afterwards. I'm going to play it. I want to see if the listeners themselves can point out the inconsistencies already in the 2 stories. Check this out. And now this is from a foreign report on CNN.
All right, you join us there as breaking news is continuing to come to us from the U.S. state of Wisconsin. We're going to show you live pictures now, or as near to live as we dare, given that there are reported gunmen on the loose after a shooting at a Sikh temple. It happened in the town of Oak Creek, which is just south of Milwaukee. And these are aerial images of the scene. We understand there's at least 1 body in the parking lot. Our affiliate in Wisconsin is reporting that at least 4 people have been shot and that the gunman is on the loose. A half an hour ago, or 15 minutes ago, I should say, we spoke to the president of the Sikh Religious Society of Wisconsin, who had been alerted to what has taken place. He told us that at about 10:30 Central Time in the United States, that is about nearly 2 hours ago, multiple gunmen entered the temple and shot people. He believed the numbers were anywhere between 6 and 12 people and possibly as high as 20. But we must stress that those numbers are unconfirmed. It's understood that whoever carried out these shootings, be they one person or several people, are still on the loose. We understand that a command center has been set up now, as you look at these pictures of the parking lot, to try and hunt down the gunman. We believe that as many as 100 people would have been in the temple. Now, Sunday is a major religious day in the United States, as it is in the Christian world elsewhere. But Sikhs would pray on any.
So, and the report goes on to blabber. But I thought that the first 1 minute and 35 seconds there, that clip, was very telling. Now, I know it's a It's coming from, we'll say, the European news desk, but it's still CNN. So they're feeding off of whatever information that the home desk in Atlanta is getting, right? Now, it's interesting how they reported about the one body out there in the front, in the parking lot, in the front of the Sikh temple. Now, that coincides with what the chief of police said about the officer coming up, engaging an active shooter, getting hit, and as he's going down, pop, 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 pop. Which, if the officer's wearing a vest, he could have gotten hit in the arms, chest, whatever. The vest probably would have saved him from any super harm, any major organ damage or anything. Probably got hit in the shoulders and stuff, and was able to return fire, which is not unrealistic. Knocked one shooter down, right? So there's one shooter dead in the front. They report that guy is down, but yet they still reported there were multiple shooters on the loose. And that it was, well, actually, she said, we don't know if it's one shooter or multiple shooters that are on the loose. But the damning piece of evidence is from the Sikh temple guy, the president of the Sikh temple, the one that they spoke to. He said that he gives a time, tells you exactly, around about what time they came in. They entered the temple and they started firing. And I say they because the guy referred to multiple shooters. So just keep all this stuff. Again, I can't really go much further than this with it right now, but keep this in mind and keep all this information, in the back of your head, so that over the course of the next 12 to 24 hours, as this story progresses, if you notice that certain facts start to disappear, and the story is getting framed as, it's just the one guy that the cop, he engaged him in the front of the temple in the parking lot, and he engaged him and he killed him. End of story. One shooter. The people inside the temple are saying it wasn't one shooter. Again, it'll be interesting to see how it's handled. If there's gag orders put on it, just like with the Aurora, Colorado shooting, all of a sudden there'll be gag orders put on the victims. They won't be able to talk to the media or anybody, even their own family, under penalty of breaking that and then going to jail, being subject to some sort of penalty. Now, why would you do that to witnesses that are already traumatized? Because it will screw up the investigation. How is it going to screw up the investigation? Explain to me how your investigators, if they're so seasoned, would get their facts crossed and screwed up if the media reported on the investigation and if witnesses were allowed to tell their stories. That's a lie. It's an out-and-out lie. Now, if they handle this the same way, then it's shady. This very well could be a bunch of morons that are, filled with hate and whatever. Who knows? I will bet that they're going to try to ramp up the gun control stuff again. Oh my God, they had guns. If they didn't have guns, they wouldn't have been able to kill people. Right, because they couldn't have done something else. They couldn't have run in there with swords and decapitated people. Once you've made the populace a bunch of namby-pamby, crybaby wimps that aren't willing to defend themselves, you could go in and hit somebody with a BB gun, shoot somebody, kill somebody with an ice pick. You could do something, a dull spoon, and nobody would stop you because everybody would be too afraid. Oh, I'm too afraid to get involved. I don't want to help out. So it's not the guns, okay? Let's stop blaming that. But that'll get blamed. Guns will get blamed. And then I'm willing to bet I'm willing to bet the guys will be right-wing, uber right-wing conservatives. They'll try to label them, if it is shady, even if it's not shady, the media will try to play on it and, the internet fuels hatred and blah, 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 blah. No, Islamophobia that our government puts out, that every Muslim is a terrorist and you better be careful because there's one hiding in your closet with a bomb. It doesn't matter that now they're pushing that it's homeland, that even white people could be terrorists. Years and years of movies and during the Bush administration, be afraid of Arabs. Islamophobia. So if this is a real shooter, if this is a real event, this isn't something that they pulled off, the government, meaning, then I'm sure they're still going to try to label it and use it to, like, what's his name said, Rahm Emanuel, never let a good crisis go to waste. So just Try to pay attention to the local news media reports, ladies and gentlemen, and then, put that up against what the mainstream, ABC and all them say. Educate yourself, keep an eye on this, and investigate it. All right, we're going to break. We will be right back. Yeah, so out of this mass shooting, even if it's not controlled, even if it's, real active violence by some douche, then just look for them to try to ban guns more, push more fear, be afraid of everybody, take advantage of it, and I would venture a guess they're going to break out the hate crime legislation again, and they're going to push that, and oh my God, and that'll buttress up with anti-bullying and everything else, and oh my God, we need legislators to keep us safe, because if there was a law in place, that gunmen wouldn't hurt people. Okay, that doesn't really happen, just so you know. Okay, laws do not stop people from doing anything at all. If laws really stop people from doing anything, would there ever be murder ever again? Ever, ever, ever? Would the Bush administration have tortured people? Would we have invaded multiple countries based on lies? No. If laws stopped people from doing things, then none of that would have happened. Nothing bad would happen, but let's face reality. Okay, politicians make laws when they can't solve a problem. You know who solves problems? People like us. The listeners, other radio show hosts, people that are willing to take their time out and put up blogs or whatever and get involved. We're the ones that solve problems. Listen to JJ's show. He talks about hemp all the time. You listen to Joe. He'll talk about the police state, but then he'll spend at least 20 or 30 minutes talking about a way to, get involved and solve it. He talks about homeschooling, which is a great way to, solve problems. I talk about solutions on my show. Bob Tuskin talks about solutions on his show. There's a lot of other people out there that are just average, everyday people stepping up to the plate, talking about solutions. And what do politicians come up with? Politicians don't ever come up with a solution to any problem. See, a politician looks at a problem and goes, well, I can't solve it, so we'll make a law. That's how they do it. That's why you ever look on the books, there's some of the most stupid laws you've ever seen. All right, for instance, in South Beach, Miami, okay, there's a law that says if you park an elephant at a parking meter, you still have to put the money in the parking meter as if you were parking a car. So if you park an elephant at a parking meter, it's considered a car. And people go, huh? What? Why would you have a law saying that you can... And I'm sure at some point there was some circus in town or something, and they were parking the animals, and people couldn't park cars, and the city lost money, so the city said, well, we're going to, we'll fix that. We'll amend the law that if there's an animal in the parking space, you got to pay to park your animal. I mean, it sounds stupid, right? Just go look up dumb laws. Google dumb laws. And look up some of the laws that are still on the books today. Look at the things that they propose in it right now. That I'm not talking old, old school, 50, 60 years ago. I'm talking about stuff that's been put on the books in the past 20 years. For real. There's some really stupid laws out there. When you go, well, why would they do that? Myself, I like to... I always like to figure out the why of things, the causality, whether it's how something works or why something, why a situation played out the way it did. And, I'll break it down. I'll look at something and I'll break it down. Unfortunately, not many people operate like that. So try to be, if you want a solution, they're out there. There's plenty of solutions out there. Be the solution. Don't go to the politician and ask the politician or anybody. I'm not talking about just the putzes in D.C. I'm talking about at your local level, too. All right? I'm talking about going to your city council meetings. I had the FBI come knock on my door. You all remember, the older listeners, for the newer ones, you can look it up in my archive. It's one of my first shows. The feds came and knocking on my door last April, all because I went to a city council meeting. Multiple meetings, and voiced my opinion about 9/11 and fluoride and corruption. And they didn't like that. They didn't like me standing up and opening my mouth. So I got the FBI knocking on my door because I was labeled an extremist group by the mayor, who, after that little incident, see, I didn't, did I go around threatening the guy? Did I try to act all tough? Did I go around hiding in my closet? No. What did I do? I went around and got on as much media as I could at the time. I was on JJ show, a couple other shows here on the network at the time. Alex Jones had me on his show. I put a huge media spotlight on it. And then after I put a media spotlight on it, what did I do? Did I cower down and not go to the city council meetings anymore? Oh, no. Oh, no. I did just the opposite. I made it my life's mission to get that individual voted out of office and a new mayor put in. And I did what I could do to help out the locals of that city get him removed. And within 4 or 5 months, when the election came up, he was voted out. And the new guy that's in there is a Ron Paul guy. You know, he understands. When I say a Ron Paul guy, I say he likes the ideas of liberty and freedom, as most people should. He knows the DEA is corrupt. He knows that the CIA brings drugs in and stuff like that. He's on board with 9/11. So he's not at the city council meeting going, 9/11 is an inside job. He's actually out there trying to change things and clean things up, and he's done a really good job. The residents of that city are very pleased with him. And all he was the average Joe citizen that was pissed off that this mayor, if he would go to a meeting, he would go to city council meeting and stand up at the podium. You have 3 minutes to talk, and he would get targeted because the mayor would send out code enforcement after him. Oh, this mayor was a real charm. This guy would go around in his van at night with a camera and a pair of binoculars and scope out the houses of people that talked against him at city council meetings, or that, like in the one case of the blogger, Stephanie, who I've interviewed, I post some of her articles on Federal Jack. He would go around by her house and sit outside with binoculars and watch her and watch her house just for the slightest little infraction, and then write it down. And then he would go to his office the next day and send out emails to the code enforcement department. I'm not kidding. I mean, for instance, she had some pavers on the side of her driveway. She's got a dirt driveway. So she put some pavers on the side of it next to it, so when she gets out of the car, she doesn't have to step in muddy grass, because it's Florida and it rains 6 months out of the year down here in South Florida. We're in the tropics. This guy actually noted that, went back and went through the files in the town to see if she had gotten a permit to put those pavers down. And when he couldn't find any permit, he went and had code enforcement go out there and threaten her to fine her. I mean, they got in her face and everything. All on the orders of the mayor. When you have a little tyrant like that in your town, he's got to go. He's got to go. You got to stand up to these people. That's how, you want a solution? There's a start. Get rid of the dirtbags in your local area. Everybody wants to the president should get impeached. He should. He should be more than impeached. He should be in jail. All of them should. Going back a very long time. They all should have been swinging or in jail. They're all criminals. But if you want any type of change in the federal level, we've got to change it at a local level. You've got to start changing in your own things in your own life first. You've got to come up with a solution to the problem. You have to, and don't look to an outside source for the solution. Whether it's, people, they fall right into that. It's, the cult of personality, and they'll go, yeah, I know, well, I'm awake now, Obama's New World Order. But Ron Paul is God, or Gary Johnson, or whoever. And again, you're looking to these people to rescue you from a situation that you need to be rescuing yourself from. You will never, ever, ever be able to get out from underneath this, no matter how awake you are, unless you're willing to do it yourself. You can't be waiting for, a Ron Paul or a Joe Joseph or a JJ or a Tim Watts or an Alex Jones or a Bob Tuskin or a Popeye or whoever. Don't be waiting for somebody to come rescue you. Don't wait for the president to fly in with his cape. The president, the original job of the presidency of the United States was like the manager at McDonald's. He wasn't even the franchise owner. We were the franchise owners. He was like the manager. And if your shake was shitty or your fries were cold, you'd go to him. Now all of a sudden he's the franchise owner. The office of the presidency does not come with a cape and a nifty little spandex suit with a big S on the front of it. We're going to break. We'll be right back. Remember, look to yourself for the answer. Yeah, I see. I really foresee them pushing this shooting for their advantage, even if they didn't do it. I really do. And I see, again, them trying to ramp up hate crime legislation and all this other stuff. I just thought I'd throw that in there because JJ threw something in during the break in the chat room that I noticed. The New York City Police Department is ramping up security at all Sikh temples throughout New York. There is no threat against any Sikh temple in New York, but just to be safe, we're going to put the cops out there and SWAT gear and machine guns and, because they have to get you to, they need you to be programmed. They need you to start to get comfortable with seeing cops and paramilitary gear on the streets. And then that's one step away from troops on the streets. See, if they rolled in troops right now, people would be up in arms. Oh my God, there's troops on the streets. What the hell? There's troops on the streets. But under the right circumstances, people would be more apt to allow troops on the street. Even Kissinger said it at the Bilderberg meeting back in Evian, France. He's quoted as saying, pretty much the right now, this is back in like 1992, and he said pretty much, right now, people would be, up in arms if UN troops, entered Los Angeles, but tomorrow they'll be begging for it. And I'm paraphrasing it. Let me actually find it for you. Let's see. Henry Kissinger quote on troops in streets. We just put martial law. I want to read you guys the actual quote from him. I actually had it. I've actually quoted it on air before, and I've got it up on Federal Jack. But I want to see if I can find the actual quote about Henry Kissinger. And this was around the time of the LA riots and stuff. And again, this is, today people would be freaked out. Tomorrow, nobody would care because they're going to want us to come in, and that's what they're doing. They're getting people all amped up, and I'm willing to bet that you're going to continue to see more mass shootings and stuff like that because you have to have people all worked up. Oh my God, oh my God, I need the police to protect me. No, you don't, man. Just get a good gun. Get something good. Yeah, it wasn't from 1992. It was from 1991 at the Bilderberg meeting in Evian, France. Today, Americans would be outraged if UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order. Tomorrow, they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told there was an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence. Oh my God! It is then that all peoples of the world will pledge with world leaders to deliver them from this evil. The one thing every man fears is the unknown. When presented with this scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by their world government. Oh, please, UN, come in and save us because the population here has guns and I'm afraid for my kids, but I'm not afraid of UN soldiers coming in and raping them and raping me and killing my family because that's never happened in the past. That was sarcasm, just in case you weren't sure. And you know what? He's right. People will call for it. People will be so up in arms, though. Oh, come save us from the terrorists. First it was Arabs, but now it's not Arabs. Now it's homegrown white people that are pissed off, and it's only the right wing. Because the left-wing people, the uber left side, the people that lean to that and buy into that left-right paradigm and lean to the uber left, right, they've never done anything bad. I can't think of any terrorist organization that's been formed here in the country that the left wing created, right? Again, sarcasm. Go look up the Ku Klux Klan. You think I'm kidding? You think it was Republican conservatives that, yeah, screw black people? You want to know who started the Ku Klux Klan? I mean, Albert Pike was one of the people, but it was all Southern Democrats. Oh, surprise. The Democrats? Oh, you mean people on the left side could be just as evil as people on the right side? Oh, you mean evil is evil? What? You see how you're controlled? I used to be controlled too. I used to buy into it. I used to make fun of liberals so much. I mean, liberals, it's kind of easy to make fun of them, the ones that buy into it, and fall all over themselves and actually buy into that propaganda. Of course, they're easy to make fun of. It's also easy to make fun of the uber right-wing people that do the same thing. And I used to buy into that, and I used to, get into fights with people. Oh, you're just a dumb liberal. You want me to repeat what Kissinger said? Do you think he's talking about liberals? Do you think he's talking about conservatives? Do you think he's talking about independents? No, he's not talking about any political party. He's talking about everyone being scared out of their mind through fear, which is what they use to control us. Wait till the second hour when I get into the paraglider thing. Oh my God. For real. They're going to come bring paragliders in and blow you up with paraglider bombs, Popeye. You best be careful. You best be careful. Because paraglider bombs, oh my God, they're so bad. And the reason I'm not playing the clip yet is because the clip's like 3.5 minutes. I'm going to play it, and then I want to go back through it and critique it. Okay, but I'm going to let it play first so you guys can actually hear what's being said. Otherwise, I'll keep interrupting it like I normally do, and it'll take me 6 or 7 segments to get through it. So I'll let you guys hear, and then I'm going to rip it apart. But it is just out-and-out propaganda. I mean, it is really horrible. They were arrested in Spain trading with paragliders to attack because terrorists want to attack with paragliders. You want to know the real terrorists? Here, I'll play a real quick little audio clip about the real terrorists here in the country. They wear badges and little costumes, and they call themselves cops, okay? Seattle cop takes his badge off at a active scene, right? Takes his badge off, throws it on the ground, and proceeds to fist fight with an individual on the scene. Now, whether the guy got up in the cop's face or whatnot, there obviously was a reason the guy got into the cop's face. I can't see anybody just randomly walking up. Maybe the kid was a punk or whatever, but that's not really. I mean, they say after words were said back and forth, he spit at the cop, and then the cop punched him in the face. But this was already after the cop took his badge off and threw it on the ground and said, "I'm not afraid to fight you." Everything else. Now, who are the real terrorists in this country? Check this out. Let's see what you think.
Seattle news coverage. Cairo 7 Eyewitness News starts right now.
A Seattle police officer suspended over this.
He actually took off his badge and threw it on the ground and said, "I am not scared to fight you. I will fight you."
Cairo 7 talks to the man who watched that officer shove his friend to the ground.
And this comes less than a week after the Seattle Police Department settled with the feds over the use of excessive force. Tonight, police called the officer's actions unprofessional, and it turns out his fellow officers turned him in. Cairo 7's Gary Horker talked to SPD and eyewitnesses.
By the way, that's about time that happened, but that probably only occurred because the feds just cut a deal with them. So right now they're playing good boy. So this guy had to be sacrificed. But let's see if this continues where they police their own. But at least they police their own.
And Gary, both seem to agree about the use of force here.
Yes, they both concur about that part. And here at SPD headquarters, I can tell you this investigation, Angela, is far from over. They're actually looking at police dash cam video as well. Some of it reportedly shows this veteran officer taking off his badge, putting it on the ground during the confrontation. By the time the first shove was caught on video, eyewitnesses who saw this confrontation between a 19-year veteran Seattle police officer and a young man say it had already escalated and the officer was acting out of control.
Their line is to serve and protect. But what happened yesterday was none of the above, you know?
Because after the officers were called to a report of a BB gun shooting here, Officer Clayton Powell squared off against a young man who was taunting him, and eyewitnesses tell us Powell challenged that young man to fight him.
He actually took off his badge and threw it on the ground and said, I am not scared to fight you. I will fight you. And he grabbed him and they started wrestling. And then he overpowered the young man and pulled him against the police car.
In the video, Officer Powell is the only one not wearing a badge.
Oh, isn't that convenient? Officer Powell's the only one not wearing a badge. All the other cops there are wearing a badge. And his own officers, by the way, turn him in. His own fellow officers turn him in, which they should have. They should have. There's no excuse if you see something like this going on. And who knows why the kid got in the guy's face, okay? Who knows why he got in the cop's face? Maybe the cop screwed with him, said something to him, and he got tired. You know, people are getting tired of taking, crap from these people because they wear costumes with tin badges. People are getting tired of that. So maybe he stood up to him. And you see how the cop reacts? You're supposed to be professionals, police officers. You're supposed to be, when someone gets in your face, you're not supposed to automatically pull your taser out or pull your badge off and try to be a tough guy. See all that training you go through? You're supposed to be able to resolve the conflict. That's why they call it conflict resolution. Maybe they took that class out of police academy. They probably did. Now they just say conflict resolution. You pull your taser out and you tase them. Well, in this case, the cop thought he was Leonidas. Pulled his badge off, said, "This is Sparta. Let's fist fight." But no, the cops, they should be, they're great citizens. They shouldn't be held accountable for things they do, right? Right. Who are the real terrorists? We're going to break. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye from federaljack.com. And hour number 1, I hope I was able to go over the insanity good enough for you, because we're delving into the deeper levels. So if the first hour blew your mind, made you go, what the is going on? Don't worry, hour 2 is going to put you right back in the same spot, but about 6 feet deeper into that pile of poo. Here we go. Have you guys heard about the story of a young black kid who was arrested because he had marijuana? A black kid with marijuana, he might smoke it. It'll be reefer madness. Well, guess what? He was searched twice. The police searched him. And this is an important aspect of the story, because after they searched him twice and they found no weapons, right? They searched him twice. They put him back into the back of the police car. And supposedly, while they were standing outside, they hear pop. Or pop, I think it was one shot, not two, but, they hear a gunshot. They go in, and the kid's dead. Supposedly from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, even though he was handcuffed in the back of a squad car. And he was searched twice. He supposedly had a gun that they didn't know about. And because he had been arrested, I guess, for smoking pot, he felt it necessary to pull this gun out that the cops did not find while searching him twice and shoot himself in the head. And then they write it up as it's a suicide, kid killed himself. So the family is, no, you're out of your mind. The FBI is actually investigating now. The fox, in the hen house, right? That's really going to do anything. But the police chief, his name's Michael Yates. He says, he stands behind his officer's story. Of course you do. Thin blue line, right? Says in an interview that the death is, quote, definitely bizarre and defies logic at first glance, quote. Really? You think? You think, Chief Yates? You think that it's definitely bizarre and defies logic at first glance? You really think so? But you stand by your officer's story. But yet you just said it's definitely bizarre and it defies logic at first glance. Really? Again, who are the terrorists in this country? Who are the real terrorists? Is it Arab people that are going to strap a bomb to their chest? I'm sure there are real terrorists now that we've helped create them since 9/11, years and years of bombing the crap out of the country. And there were bad people in the past, but not like they would have you believe. But who is the real threat to national security if you think about national security as the citizens? Who would that be? Anyone in class want to raise their hand? Yes, you, little Jimmy in the back. Yes, that's right, the police. The police are the bigger terrorists. Going into the first break, or the end of the first hour, rather, I played the clip where the cop takes his badge off and challenges the guy to a fist fight, right? Coming back in, we have another story where, again, guy gets arrested for something minimal like marijuana. He gets searched 2 times. Twice. Now, let me tell you something. At the minimum, if the police chief thinks this story is true, those officers should be reprimanded and, at the very least, sent back back to the police academy for a couple weeks and taken off the street for proper training. Think about that for a minute. They searched the guy twice. The official story is they searched him twice, didn't find a gun. He goes and gets put in the back of the squad car and suddenly pulls a gun out and shoots himself in the head while he's handcuffed, I may add. Really? So then your 2 officers are incompetent, to say the least, is what you're telling me. You have 2 incompetent individuals out on the street with weapons on their sides and arrest authority. That's what you're telling me, Chief. At the minimum, your officers are a bunch of morons, in your own words, if you break it down and look at it. That's their best defense. Well, I have bumbling idiots for cops. Huh? They just didn't find the gun. Well, what kind of officer are they? Apparently, maybe they're detective material in your department. I mean, look at the story. Listen to what the guy's telling you. Oh, whatever the officers say, that's exactly what happened. Really, Chief? Good job. No wonder people hate police. No wonder nobody has a positive outlook on the police except for the people who are family members of police officers, like close friends, or married to one. Or, like I said, related to one in one way or another, or dating. Everybody else hates them. Now, why? Why is that? Because of their actions. It's not because people are lawless, anarchist a-holes who just don't want, they want police to die. No. It's because cops go out and tase little old ladies. They pepper spray little old ladies, in the case of the NYPD. Little old lady standing there watching what's going on. She came down to check out Occupy Wall Street, and the cops mace her in the face. Oh, well, Popeye, it was a fluid situation. They did BS. They knew she was a little old lady. Okay, the first thing they taught me when I was in the Guard was you better beware of what's downrange of your weapon, whether it's a rifle, a pistol, your baton, or a can of OC, which is military-grade pepper spray. You have to be aware what's downrange, what's at the other end of that. And if it's an 80-something-year-old woman and she does not pose a threat because she doesn't have an RPG or a knife or something in her hand and she's not coming at you, she's just standing there protesting, I certainly don't see that as a threat. These police officers do because they're pumped up full of fear. Oh my God, be afraid of everybody. I've recited the story on air before about 6-7 months ago. Maybe it's even longer now. There was an incident of police brutality, and an author wrote about it, this blogger, and I reposted his story with his full permission to do so, actually. And within 24 hours, the same guy had commented on his story and my repost of it. And the guy was a SWAT team captain, and both the author of the article and myself responded to this guy and got into it with him. And he basically told me that they're at war with scum in this country. That's, the gist of what he said to me. And the term "we're at war with scum," it was actually in there. We're at war in this country. We're being the police department or the law society. These cops, they're the homegrown, the ones that go out of control like this, they're the ones that are homegrown terrorists. You're the standing army people that the founding fathers warned about. You have become what you swore to protect your own citizens from. Think about that. You have become the enemy. You are putting yourself in the situation that you are being the terrorist that everybody's supposed to be afraid of. You're the ones that are actually him. And in your own heads, you actually think you're the saviors. Think about that. Why do you beat up old ladies? Why do you tase old ladies? Why do you, if a little, like the video of the little old lady, she stands up to the cop. That cop had to be like 6'4". She was like this little 5'0", like 90-pound old lady. And she's getting up in his face, and the cop is all threatened, and he tases her. Really? What kind of officer are you that you need a taser to handle a little old lady? It's pathetic. We are back. And just in case there's any law enforcement listening or you hear this later, no, I'm not trying to incite people to go after you. I'm telling you directly that you have become what you swore to protect your family and your fellow citizens of this country from. You have become exactly what you swore an oath to protect the Constitution from. Enemies foreign and, the key word, domestic. You are all becoming a standing army in this country. Now, do you think it's going to serve you or your family any purpose and any good in any way to go out and round citizens up? Do you think it's going to serve any benefit to you to lick the boots of your masters? If you think so, you're mistaken. I know a lot of you are, you're just a conspiracy kook, or as I was told by a cop once, and it's actually on video, you read too much. You're one of those guys that reads too much. He didn't say one of those guys. The exact term was, you're one of those people that reads too much. And I said, I read too much? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know books were bad now. Which fascist regime from history are you trying to mimic with that one? Go ahead and pick. There's a list. I don't even have to try to say any of them. There's a huge list. So go ahead. Which fascist regime are you trying to mimic with that one? You read too much. I'm sorry, Officer IQ 89. I know reading the funny papers is about the extent of what you can handle. I mean, that's the level of mentality I was dealing with that day. And that's a shame, because I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to be a cop. I really did. When I was a kid, there were still good cops out there. There were, the cops in my town knew everybody. Literally, they knew all the families. And I didn't live in a super tiny town. But over the years, you learned. A lot of the cops that worked in my town lived in my town. They lived there. It was important for them to get to know people. Think about that. Most of the cops nowadays don't even live in the towns they serve in. At all. They live 30, 40 miles outside of the town. So if they go beat somebody from the town, they tase them, they violate their rights, they don't care. It's a job. Because they don't live there. So they don't have to interact with these people. Maybe they bump into them somewhere if they're at a mall close by or something. But most of these cops don't live in the vicinity of where they work. They actually work a pretty decent set of miles away. Down here all the time you see Miami-Dade County police officers commuting from Broward County down into Miami-Dade County to work. Why is that? Or you'll see cops that, are cops in a city in Miami and they live up in Broward County, 35, 40 miles north of where they work. Gee, why is that? Well, I don't like the area that I work in. It's really ghetto. It's really bad. So we constantly got to arrest and beat people. Well, instead of reacting to the situation, did anybody ever put any thought into a solution? Yeah, I know it's a bad neighborhood, but how about you try to come up with solutions to the problems in the neighborhood? rather than perpetuate the problems by just sending armed thugs out there to beat the crap out of people. And yeah, there are gangs and stuff in a lot of these cities and stuff, but again, that's a symptom of a much larger problem. And instead of attacking the problem, we always attack the symptoms of the problem. There's always going to be bad people. You can't stop, the police aren't going to stop bad people from doing bad things. Once in a while, they stop a crime from happening, or they're in the right place at the right time. Most of the time, that's not the way it works. So instead of going out there and reacting to a situation where you shoot people up and stuff, again, when I was a kid, cops used to come and, resolve conflict, man. I saw more situations resolved because of the calm and coolness of the police officers that I grew up. And these guys were, 40, 50 years old when I was a kid, a lot of them. So they're all retired and gone now. Some of them are even dead. But they were calm, cool, and collected when I was a little kid. I got in trouble for lighting fires in garbage cans. I've talked about this on air before. I got in trouble for lighting fires in garbage cans when I was a kid. Just being a little putz. I got in trouble. I was lighting, I was about 12, 13 years old. Maybe a little older. I was about 12 or 13. My little stepbrother was with me. He's about 10. And the cop knew his real dad, who at the time was the chief of the volunteer fire department in town. And he knew my dad and my mother. My dad used to be on the fire department. My uncle was still on it. My brother was going to be on it when he was older. I eventually joined the fire department, and he knew my mom because she had worked in the town and because she was on the ladies' auxiliary for the fire department. So, all the police, they knew me growing up. They knew my family. And he threw me in the back of his cop car. I remember his name. His last name was Rosiniak. Paul Rosiniak. And he threw me in the back of a squad car. And he knew I did it. He knew there was he didn't find any evidence on me because I was smart enough to get rid of the lighters and all that stuff, but he knew that we did it. So he said to me, I'm not going to arrest you. I'm going to take you home to your mother and tell you what you did. I begged him to take me to the police station because I feared my mother's beating worse than I feared going to the local jail. Now it's completely opposite. Now the parents can't hit their kids or won't hit their kids because they've been neutered in a lot of ways, and for out of that fear or out of brainwashing. And I'm not saying you should beat the living hell out of your kids, but every once in a while, a good swift kick to the ass keeps a kid in line, and it teaches him a little respect for his elders. And that's one of the problems we have now, where the generation doesn't care about its elders. Of course, that's being done for a reason too. So that way, when they're older and the death panels come along, you can just press the eject button on the old people, and they won't have any problem doing it. But I digress. The point is, the police officers used to be different when I was a kid. They handled things differently. There was conflict resolution. See, now they would just tase and beat the kid for lighting a garbage can on fire and then charge him with arson and everything else, and that would wreck the kid's life. When I was a kid, police officers actually sat down and used a little bit of logic and thought about things and said, well, maybe I shouldn't wreck this kid's life. I mean, he's being a dumbass. He's lighting garbage cans on fire, for Christ's sake. What a moron. I know his parents. I'll take him home and let his father kick his ass. Or his mother kick his ass. But no, now they'll tase him, beat him. I mean, look how schools are. Kids get in fistfights in schools, and the cops get called on them. They get arrested, and if they mouth off to the cop tases them. I'm going to tell you what, I would have been arrested multiple times and beaten and tased if that were the deal when I was a kid. I got in fights all the time. I'm not kidding. I got suspended left and right. Bullies would say something to me or a friend of mine, boom. Wouldn't even think twice. Down, you're out. I'm tired of your mouth. I got in trouble all the time. I mouthed off to the vice principal. I mouthed off to I was a little dick when I was a kid. I mean, the fighting bullies part was fine because that was justified, but I still was a little mouthy prick when I was a kid. I can only imagine what would have happened to me now if I had, I took my child self and put it into the future. I can only imagine what would happen now. Everything is reversed. We need to get back to the way things. Actually, I shouldn't say get back to the way things are, but we need to realize what's going on acknowledge there's a problem and start to use logic again. And then just things will domino effect from there. We are definitely in bizarro world. Things are definitely the opposite of the way they're supposed to be. We'll be right back. Homeland Security issuing its own DMCA takedowns on YouTube to stifle speech. It's an article I have posted over on federaljack.com. It's right on the front page under the featured articles section. I will drop the link right now. Bam, there you go, into the chat room. And this is just one step further to, government controlling every little thing, because YouTube is an effective tool to wake people up. I get asked all the time, Papa, why do you stay on YouTube? Why don't you go to some other video service? Everybody here is awesome. And you also all are awake and you all know what's going on. That would be pointless. The battle is here. Why would I want to go into a room? It's like, picture walking into a room to give a speech, right? And everybody in the room already knows what I'm going to say. What's the point? Why wouldn't I go into a room filled with people that have no idea what I'm going to say and I can drop a ton of information on them? Well, that's what YouTube is for. That's why I stay on Facebook. I don't have a personal Facebook account. My Facebook account is for my radio show and for Federal Jack. That's it. The website and the radio show. I don't have my own personal one. I use it to, spread articles and stuff. But that's where the fight's at. So that's why Homeland Security is now moving in. And we've already talked about this in the past 6-7 months ago, if not even further. JJ's talked about it. Other hosts have talked about it. Joe's talked about it. How the government is, certain videos, especially like even local governments, all the way up to federal governments all over the world, asks YouTube all the time to take down videos because of this, that, the other thing. There were protest videos recently being removed. Well, now, and I have the screenshot right up there, you'll see that Tech Dirt wrote an article, and I did post it. And although the author that wrote it in Tech Dirt takes a swipe at conspiracy theorists in the article, he takes like a 2 or 3 line swipe at conspiracy theorists, I can look past the idiocy of his comment just by the sheer magnitude of what the rest of the article shows. So, whatever, his stupid little comment aside, I think it's funny because he could say conspiracy theories, but at the same time, he's referring to people that say that the government is stifling free speech, and yet he's the one writing an article showing how the government is stifling free speech. So that's what I would call irony. Anyway, if you look at the DMCA takedown notice that is up on the, I guess it's the channel, and not just a video, but it says Obama calls for new, and then whatever, it shows a quote, and dot, and then quotes. It says this video is no longer available because the YouTube account associated with this video has been terminated due to multiple third-party notifications of copyright infringement from claimants including CBS, and then underneath that, the United States Department of Homeland Security. Now, the author goes on in the article to say, well, this is the first time I've ever seen multiple people listed. Well, then you're not paying attention, because this has happened multiple times to me on my accounts, where you can look up, I bet you if you try to go to a video from Federal Jack Tube 3, and it'll probably say the same thing where it's listed from multiple parties, because you have to have 3 strikes on the account. So then it lists all the people that you say, you're a copyright offender. You got to have that, the sign hanging around your neck, the big wooden sign that says copyright thief or whatever. That's what they're doing to you. They're labeling you. They're trying to marginalize you. Anyway, it just goes to show that the Department of Homeland Security now is issuing takedown notices because they don't want you to see certain things. Now, I think that's very ironic that a government agency can issue a copyright notice, because technically we own the government, right? We pay their salary. So the stuff they produce is ours, the taxpayers. So how could a department inside the government issue a copyright complaint against its owners? I own the video. I pay your taxes. So does everybody else. So how are you, if I download it, rip it, and re-upload it to a YouTube channel, why are you taking it down, Homeland Security? You want to get down to it, that's our video. It's not yours. Well, it's property of the Department of Homeland Security, but we own you. We own you. Or do we? See what I'm trying to get you to do, ladies and gentlemen? I'm trying to get you to think. All right. We don't have much time left. I only got what's left in this segment and the next segment, and I want to go over this other video that I said I was going to get into because this is something big. The new terror threat. Ooh, be afraid. Be very afraid, ladies and gentlemen, because we have a new terror threat. Al-Qaeda and paragliders. Picture a slow-motion 9/11 in real slow motion because paragliders are slow. I mean, real slow.
About to fly in, possibly on paragliders, to launch their newest attack. Investigators in Spain have 3 suspects.
Run, Al-Qaeda!
Under arrest. They say they had a stash of explosives and were coming up with a brand new way to attack. Here's our senior national security correspondent, Martha Raddatz, tonight.
The 3 suspected Al-Qaeda operatives had timers and enough explosives with them to blow up a bus. Even more troubling, at least 2 of the men had been practicing flying light aircraft, believed to be motorized paragliders like those seen here, those innocent-looking pleasure craft that the suspects may have intended for far deadlier purposes, since Al-Qaeda has long been obsessed with arming aircraft.
How much explosive?
So, yeah, the CIA's been long obsessed with arming aircraft.
Substance could you actually put on something like this?
You can see underneath the pilot that there's room where they could potentially put explosive, or in the past, as we've seen, a suicide vest where he would carry this explosive on his body and perhaps detonate as he flew into a crowd, as he flew into a stadium, someplace where he could make that terror attack that would create fear.
And of course, this guy is a former colonel, okay? Whether he's Air Force, Army, Marine Corps, whatever, he's former colonel. I love how the news agencies always have a former military member on, and it's always an officer. It's never like a ground pounder. You know, it's never a first sergeant. It's never a chief. It's never any of that. No. It's always some douche officer. Anybody that's in the military, anybody that's enlisted and never been or served, any vets will get what I'm talking about with that. It's an O. You never see any of the enlisted out there, you know. You never see a sergeant with like 4 or 5 tours in Iraq going, this is horse crap. No. You always got some dick officer out there that they're paying as their correspondent. And it's great because they show the bottom. They show this shot from the bottom of the glider. And he's like, well, right here you could put all this explosives. Right. Then the thing probably wouldn't fly normally, right? Because it has to be a certain weight to fly. Oh, but science. Science. Come on, it didn't matter on 9/11. Physics doesn't exist on that date, right? Buildings burn. There was a building that just burned in Turkey like 2 weeks ago. Or no, I think it was at least 12 hours or something like that, if not longer. This thing was fully engulfed. I mean, the flames coming out of this building were just immense. The whole thing was going. It was in way worse shape than Building 7 was. But building stood up. But it wasn't 9/11 in 2001, so guess what? Physics still applies. Only on that date, in that period of time, in that place, coincidentally, of course, did physics not apply. All right, I'm going to get back to this.
The paraglider would add to the already creative but lethal bomb delivery system.
Oh, here we go. And the first one they talk about, Mike Vail and I already talked about this again on Friday. We said that they were breaking this out. The printer cartridge bomb, which has been proven to be faked among all the others. Listen to everything that she says. Listen to every little terror plot that they say is coming. Listen to this. And all of them have been debunked as BS.
Terrorists have used over the years. There was the printer bomb, the shoe bomb, the underwear bomb, but also used or contemplated explosives hidden in teddy bears, cameras, laptops, prosthetics, including one molded to look like a woman is pregnant, bra bombs, and body cavity bombs. And of course, those sports drinks that brought a halt to air travel after a plot was uncovered in 2006.
I love it. Every one of those has been proven to be BS. Every one of them. If there was still a bomb plot with the liquids, how come they allow liquids again? Oh, apparently ABC News doesn't do their homework. Oh, but then one must remember who owns ABC News. That would be Disney. That's right. The very same company that's responsible for Pirates of the Caribbean and all these other gems with all this with fakery and all this, graphic effects and everything else. So the same people that bring you cartoons and big blockbuster hits like Pirates of the Caribbean are also responsible for bringing you ABC News. And they're the ones that are telling you about all these terror plots. Ooh. We'll be right back. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment, today's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. And I am going to finish up this clip really quick, but I had to rewind it just a little bit to the part where they go, right after they talked about the 3 BS attacks so far, the printer bomb cartridge attack, which was fake. That's already come out and been disproved and destroyed. Then there was Richard Reed, the moron shoe bomber, which it has been shown that was also faked, and he was a controlled moron. And then, of course, there is the underwear bomber, Abdu Muttalib, who Kurt Haskell, I urge you guys to Google him. If you don't know who he is, ladies and gentlemen, Google Kurt Haskell and go listen to what he has to say. In fact, I'm going to be working on getting Kurt on the radio show here so you can listen to him and hear what he has to say about what he witnessed because, see, he's awake. He already knew about 9/11, and he was on the airplane that the underwear bomber was on. And his story destroys the official story. In fact, the underwear bomber was going to use him was going to call him as a witness in his defense. And then right after Kurt Haskell said, yeah, I would totally do it, within a few days, the underwear bomber changed his mind and pleaded guilty. Isn't that interesting? Jared Lee Loeffner, the supposed shooter of Gabrielle Giffords, and that judge also pleaded guilty today. Isn't that interesting? All wrapped up nice with a big red bow on it. Where's the videos? Where's the videos, FBI? I know you're listening. I know you guys have that private company that records all internet broadcasts. Where are the videos? And that's a big question everybody should be asking. Where are the videos from the Gabrielle Giffords shooting? You've never seen one close-up pic or one video. They have over 200 videos, cell phones, news crews, people with video cameras, security cameras, traffic light cameras. They have satellites in outer space that can see the tag on the underwear that you're wearing right now. They can see the tag in the back of your underwear, yet you're going to tell me you don't have any good video of the Gabrielle Giffords shooting? Right. How come in all these instances, things like 9/11, Princess Diana's accident, the Giffords shooting, and tons of others, the video always goes missing, or the cameras weren't working on that particular time? It's amazing. Right as this event happened, they were changing the cameras out. Same thing with the Oklahoma City bombing back in 1995. Think I'm lying? Go check it out. The cameras never work at these events. So, are they buying the cameras from the same vendor? Is there like one crappy company that makes all these security cameras? No, there's not. Let's be realistic. So what's the problem? Well, obviously something like a cover-up is going on. Because I'll tell you what, the cameras certainly work when you blow a red light. They certainly work then. You get that ticket mailed to your house. But when there's a major event, they never work. So where's the videos from the Gabrielle Giffords shooting? All right, let me finish playing this really quick for you. And again, here's the supposed bomb plots. My favorite is the implanted bombs, the surgically implanted bombs, because you wouldn't be able to pick the guy out that has a surgically implanted bomb in him from a mile away. Well, Popeye, how would you do that? Well, wouldn't he have wires coming out of him to a detonator, right? He would have to have the detonator in his hand or something to set it off, right? Well, do you think that there's going to be seepage? Don't you think there's going to be... You think the human body works well with things that are, explosives and dirtiness and gunpowder and things like that, and explosive residue? You think your body works well with that? You don't think sepsis would set in? You don't think the guy would be sweating profusely? You would literally have to have somebody wheeling them in a wheelchair, and the guy would probably be half dead. But no, buy into it. You have to have full rectal cavity searches now because they're sewing bombs up in people, and they're, Al-Qaeda's hiding bombs in their ass. So, when you go to the airport now, if you're going to fly, TSA has to give you a full prostate exam. Females, you won't get the prostate tickle. You'll just get a full rectal examination. And while we're in there, we might as well give you a gynecological visit, too, because, hey, you could have stuffed a bomb up inside your cooch. It's just disgusting. And people fall for this. Well, I want to be safe, man. You know, if I wouldn't want Al-Qaeda to blow an airplane up. You're an idiot. Pull your head from your butt. For real. People aren't hiding explosives up inside them. And if there is a case where there is one moron that does it, look at the person. Why do they always have a diminished mental capacity? Whether it's because the person's naturally that way or chemically induced, like the Colorado shooter. Why do you think they banned any more video after? Remember, they banned people from speaking, but there were still cameras in the courtroom, and then everybody was speculating, wow, that guy looked drugged out of his mind. The judge went, no video. Gee, I wonder why. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure any of this out. It really doesn't. All right. Here's the supposed bomb plots.
But also used or contemplate explosives hidden in teddy bears, cameras, laptops, prosthetics, including one molded to look like a woman is pregnant, bra bombs, and body cavity bombs. And, of course, those sports drinks that brought a halt to air travel after a plot was uncovered in 2006.
Always coming up with new ways. Martha with us from Washington. And Martha, as you know, of course, the Olympics going on right now. These men were believed to be on the move. Any idea who they were targeting?
They really have no idea, David. Officials believe they were headed to France or someplace else in Europe. They don't think there was any threat to the Olympics. But given the explosives and paraglider, this is the kind of thing that keeps American officials and others up at night, David, trying to...
Really? So American officials are up at night going, oh my God, a slow attack from a paraglider that we could see from miles away, and we would be able to intercept with even an RC airplane. And that's what keeps you up at night? That's really what keeps you up at night? All the radiation from Fukushima coming over here, that doesn't keep you up at night? Issues like that? Maybe a world government, that doesn't keep you up at night? No, you're worried about some fake BS terror threat where they're flying around in a friggin' paraglider, which is like a lawnmower on steroids with a big fan behind it, and like I said, a rectangular canopy parachute on the top of it, and they fly around. First of all, if you strap like 50 or 60 extra pounds of explosives to the thing, it's not going to fly right. There's nothing to them. It's tubular framing. Does anybody understand aerodynamics, weight, math? No, apparently not. And this is brought to you by the same government that would have you believe that, 19 guys operated or run by some dick in a cave with a laptop and a sat phone took down 3 buildings with 2 airplanes. These are the same geniuses that come up with these tales. They want you to believe that Al-Qaeda, Sunni terrorists are wearing Shia adornments on their head, red headbands. Even though, the 2 factions have been in war for like 4,000 years, don't pay that any mind. Don't pay attention to detail. Just focus on the fact that it was an Arab, a scary Arab with a box cutter. Oh my God, give up my rights. Right. I don't buy it. And same crap with this. Paragliders, they're going to come in slow motion. Really? A kid with a wrist rocket could take the guy out. For real. Those things are not fast. We have this huge, vast police state, right? And they want me to believe that, Al-Qaeda's going to come get us. Al-Qaeda's going to come get us, Popeye. They're going to come get us. We have the huge police state, but, paragliders, the slowest thing in the world. And they're going to use paragliders. Popeye, they're coming with the paragliders, man. You best be careful. The paraglider conspiracy. Ooh. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, think about the insanity. They're trying to keep you amped up with fear. Now, is something going to happen? I don't know. But they keep the fear on the same level, and then they might even amp it up a little more when they're about to do something, but they constantly have to keep the fear at a specific, level. They can't let it dip down because then people start to get a little too comfortable. So they got to keep everybody, oh my God, on edge. Oh, government. Oh, Superman. Oh, government. Oh, Bush, Obama, Clinton, whoever, come rescue me. Ooh. Rescue yourselves. Seriously. I told you in the first hour. Solutions. Rescue yourselves. You are the one that is going to be responsible for saving yourself and coming up with a solution. Not some super government. Okay? And to give you a step up in doing that, and giving you a little bit of something to empower yourself, I'm going to recite the Litany Against Fear for you, again, on air, just in case some of the new listeners have never heard it. If you get scared when you're frightened of facing this stuff and stepping up and taking care of business and doing what has to be done, recite this in your head and it'll help you. Anytime you're afraid in your life, recite this and it'll help you. It's called the Litany Against Fear. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. I hope that helps you, ladies and gentlemen.
This is Sparta!
It's time to stand up and do the right thing. Stop buying into the fear. Do not be afraid. That's how they control you. I'll catch you all again Wednesday. Time is up for today. Class dismissed. I love you all. I'm out of here.